Anyway, when I look at someone in this position and I want to work on the hand, obviously I need to be seated. So when I'm coming this way to work with someone, again, I'm connecting with the hand. They know I'm going to work with the hand, but to bring it into, so I'm connected with the hand, but to bring it to me, I'm now dealing with the vestibular system. So as you can see, she totally just helped me and I didn't do anything. So, and that's what most people are going to do, especially with age, but most people are going to try and help you, whether they like it or not. I always used to say too, if they really want to help me, like here, hold your arm here. I'll go like this, because they'll say, I'm not helping. I take my hand away and their arm's still suspended. No, not at all. Those are usually the firstborns too, by the way. The firstborn people, because they're usually asked to walk quicker than crawling and stuff, they're used to holding their arms up. That's habitual in their system. So usually by the thirdborns, fourth, or whatever, they're much better at laying down than the firstborns. And sometimes too, it's firstborn women, because again, the women are the helpers, so they want to help. So they might have an older brother that's a complete bum, so they're doing all the work. So it doesn't necessarily mean firstborn, but usually if I see that there's habitual control issues, it's a firstborn. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. So there are many ways to prop an arm. So same thing, I'm going to come in here and just, now this seems to work well with her. Another thing that I'd like to do with the arm in this position, right next to the issue. By the way, because I'm only working with the hand in this lesson, showing you the hand, I'm not going to go with the ball. If I'm working more with the whole arm, I love my balls. Everyone should love their balls as much as I do. But here in this position, then I can work with the whole arm if I care to, but I'm not going to work on the back or the shoulder or anything. I'm only going to be concentrating on the hand. And so this would work fine as a prop if I wanted to, but if you can see, because the bounce, I'm just getting a bit too much play, and it's just my call. It would totally work. She's supported, she's comfortable, but I'm going to go with just the foam. Now with some people, because of their girth, meaning they're just big boys or whatever, you might have to do balls and foam, build up your conversation. Now here she's adjusting, so let me try it and see if this makes a difference. Okay, and maybe this will, so maybe I'll start out with this. So I can have the same conversation with this. I'm going to go a little bit out. Oops. As I did before. You can tell so much from a person just by going here. So now just by going underneath here, it's actually a little difficult for me to slide my fingers underneath this area of the hand. And again, I'm just making a thing. So I'll quickly just go underneath the wrist where I have the difference of the foam. But the reason it's difficult is because in this position, I cannot get her wrist to rotate. See, and I'm actually going to force it. So see, the wrist right in this position doesn't want to rotate. So what it was doing, this is, by the way, is this very similar phenomenon that kids have their hips pinned. That pin, what it does is the pin comes out over the trochanter. It truly affects a rotation, and you really have to keep this in mind with the movement of the back and the movement of the hip flexors and all of that consideration, because what it does is the pins are out here. Sorry that I'm going off the subject, but it's just I have a couple of kids going on with that. But it throws the weight off like this. So basically I should take a leg or whatever. There's an acceleration. I should be able to go boop, 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 boop.
Now what does that mean, pinned?
They've redone the hips so to
Because my hip is messed up right now, and that totally makes sense what you just said.
Well, yeah, when you throw off the acceleration,
Yeah.
we should have an acceleration through our
It's
whole
like
bodies. But you'll be surprised how much your hip will change, just like Will's did, just based off the hand. But so when you go like this, just the weight of the pins, and I'm sorry, people say, but it's only a couple of ounces. I don't care. The brain wasn't there before them, and it just throws. But you're going to affect the acceleration and the rotation, just like I'm trying to do here. In your case, it's also the elbow, but I'm just I'm just talking about the mechanics of when they redo hips and stuff, especially in the munchkins. It affects the total roll and the acceleration and all of that of the body, and you really have to work with it. It's not about strengthening the leg again. You have to deal with the internal acceleration with the system and letting the system, in a sense, override those pins, which can be difficult to do when a child is cognitively impaired. In other words, if they're still nonverbal, you can't talk them through it. You really have to show them. So I'm getting to work very similar to the same thing that I did. Now I'm going underneath here. I'm just looking to see what the movement is in her hand. Or there isn't, I don't know. And now I'm going to do the same thing in this position. Now it's a little bit different. I have to go with the way her hand's torqued. I'm not going to force her hand this way and then to do my, she likes lying here. So same thing, I'm just going to go to the top of the wrist and just lift this finger. Now I expected little or no mobility. By the way, I don't know if it's easier for you to sit there and watch or sit here, but you can make adjustments. So, but I expected it to be heavier through this thing because that's what's taking the hand down in this position.
Mhm.
So, but again, expected and finding out are two different things. So now I'm under the other knuckle. See, it's actually lighter than here. See, that's heavier.
Mhm.
This is lighter. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
And if you don't, that's fine. And if you don't,
I do feel it.
but if you don't, also as a person who's working on the hand, that's fine too. This is just, now this is very light,
Mhm.
and this is almost a little heavier. Feel that? This is heavier than this knuckle.
Mhm.
So your middle knuckles are actually, in a sense, lighter, and that's fine. So now, same thing. I'm going to go around here. There's no lift in the wrist here. A little bit here, here, more, and there's extension through here. And then I can't lift the wrist here. So just that 1/4 of an inch, so I could lift the wrist through here, and I couldn't do it with the other 3 knuckles. And again, I'm just here. Now I'm going to adjust this because her hand's starting to relax and slide down. The back's relaxing, all of those things are happening, so. Now this is a different position. So I'm going after just below the ulna, the radius, the top of the wrist, and into the metatarsals. And right here I'm actually torquing. So the left, see there's a little twist, and immediately here you can feel it coming off your shoulder, here you can't. And now I'm going to come from the other side. Here I just do not have the same response. And that's okay. So that's where I'm going to go after with her. So in the back of the hand, there's right here where there's a little response, so it's affecting here the response in the hand. So, and that's where I'm going after. So I have my fingers behind to work on the back part of the palm. And what I'm doing here is through the back of the palm is I'm working on the extension right through here. There should be an extension. So I'm actually, it almost looks like I'm pinching in, but when I pinch in, I'm pulling out the back part of the palm. And once the hand suddenly gets it, or part of the body, I can jump and just do amazing things, or I can sit there and still do very detailed. So right here, see, now I can come underneath here, already the difference, how I can lift the hand. And again, now my foam is shifting, so I'm gonna actually probably take one out. There you go, is that okay? You know what, let's do this. Just because someone says it's okay too, I don't always believe it. But I switched out the foam so it supported just more of the elbow and then the wrist. So here, see, just look at how minor of the torque I'm working right into the wrist cavity. And now at this point, same thing I just did in the other one, I'm going to go up into the ulna and the radius. I hope it starts moving soon. Okay, there we go. If I ever say something's not happening or a comment, I'm already working on changing it. There we go.
And when you say that, my brain triggers and be like, oh, I need to help.
And just that difference in the wrist from the ulna and the radius. And notice here, I've got my thumb here, and I'm going to go across the wrist. Now that the ulna and the radius changed, and since I don't think it's her surgeon calling, I'm not letting her get the phone. See how much nicer that torque is? And now you can see the shoulder. Right there, it's still. Goes. And again, she's gotten some beautiful movements. I could stop right now, but I'm telling you, if you just say, today, oh, I'm going to do this for just an hour, you literally can work on someone's hands for 15 hours. You will get a hand function, I'm telling you, and for some people that have had trauma, 15 hours is going to be 20 hours, but to not have that appreciation, and again, I'm not asking her to pick up a ball, I'm not asking her to do anything, it's not a therapy, it's just movement. Now, she could be a kid and I could, be playing. This is where I like kids sleeping, because to get this kind of detailed work, I'm too busy playing and being a kid. What the heck, they don't want to sit there and lay their hand out for me for. Right there. So with this wrist, I'm really forcing, I shouldn't say forcing, I'm going after specifically there we go, the torque through the hand. Because I've worked on enough hands, I know what's capable. I know what's capable of her hand. Again, if she had rheumatoid arthritis, would I be going at the wrist with this kind of, also her tonus is different. So I really have to work on her hand more so if it was an adult male, in a sense. If she was 91 years old too, I would have to use a different touch. And even when I say I'm being forceful, I'm so not being forceful.
No.
And notice too, see how my hands go with her, just like working on my own hands. See how as her hands get quicker, my hands have to be quick as well. If I had slow hands, how am I going to get her to do fast hands? And again, I know I'm using words, probably some people are going to go, that's what I'm saying. There we go, okay. It's just adjusted. So now I'm going to go back. Now look at the difference. So again, she's still not at a right angle either, but she has a different response to that. And then two also. So now if I go just back to the original movement, see, this is what's capable of a hand. But when I normally touch someone, again, what I touched was in the beginning. So I'm not going to, some people are going to be organized. Now, if she was a basketball player, if I don't get this right in the beginning, I would have, questioned it as well. But it is what it is, and I know what she's capable of doing. That's the one thing too with what I like to say about getting a movement lesson. I'm one of the few people out there in your life that sees possibilities. Most people see the limitations. And I'm all about, this is interesting, but why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? It's like going for a job. People base you on your past experiences, not about what you're capable of doing, and that's where the frustrations are. And if you don't think that's true, deal with a parent with special needs child, because they see a brilliance in their child that very few seem to see, and it gets frustrating. My own son has a diagnosis of mental retardation when they still gave him, and he's a straight A student now. So if I accepted that as his life, we would have a different person. So now I'm working on the torque going the other way, towards me versus this way. But see now the availability, how she can dip down and come back up. And also see how just that torque is dealing with the right angle. That's my student cracking his knuckles here in front of the camera. That's not her hand popping. Sorry. All that work I just did and you're cracking your knuckles?
Please do that. Oh, Gonzo, right?
Oh yeah.
You do it on purpose.
Okay, what I just did here was interesting. Didn't do it with the other hand. So what I did was I actually pushed the wrist down into the foam. And she really didn't know what to do with it. So there's one way of doing it, is this way. And again, that's sensory integration in a sense. If I can't get you to do this, if that all of a sudden you want to come back at it, like, and I get it, you could be karate and all that, and you don't want to hit, you're coming back as fast as you're punching. But if a child, if that touch is creating a subconscious response, that's where you just go, So I'm going to go at it, like I said, a different way, is I'm actually pressing and pressing down. I like to do this part too on top of the pelvis when someone's standing, actually, going through the pelvis and down through into the leg, into the standing. So now I'm going to come back and just see already there's a different response of the hand going down into the table. It's more natural, and I can go at it, again, this is my flat-handed. What I'm doing here is I want the ulna and the radius to work independently. With a little kid, you can just do it with your thumb, but and now I'm going to do the drop. Now in her position, I can just pull her now. Or push her back. She's just mine. So now what I'm doing is, I don't normally, even though I'm in the wrist, but my intentions are in the shoulder, and I'm actually going that same, where I was applying the pressure down through here, I'm applying it back into her shoulder cavity. That does two things. Not only am I connecting, let's say, the wrist more so to the shoulder, but it's that same concept of pushing down, but I'm just pushing back into her system. So. So now at this point, I'm just going to take out the foam just to see. And I don't even get the hand on the film. And two, how much I can just pull the hand. But it's really important of just, in this case, now I'm going to hold the elbow a bit more, of just allowing the hand to come down. A lot of people don't know where the hands are supposed to go. They're afraid of falling for whatever reason. So that's where the tension is. They don't know where the unknown is. This also, the way the table's set up, because she's not hitting the table, I can use that to my advantage and work on the acceleration of the hand. So. How's that feel?
Awesome.